again and welcome. Today's video is going to continue the theme of wet turning, and I have in front of me here a eucalyptus round off the same tree I wet turned that bowl on my last video. It measures 7.5 inches thick and it'll be about 15 inches in diameter when it's round, and I'll be cutting this protrusion off here to give me a chance of getting the highest RPM I can. Somebody mentioned in the comments on my last video, why didn't I use the bowl saver? Well, that and this would be ideal candidates for the bowl saver, but on my last video the bowl saver was on loan to somebody. It's now back, but I really do fancy doing a hollow form with this, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be leaving the walls as even as possible with the same principles as you would with a bowl to give it the best chance of moving without actually cracking. The moisture content of this currently is 24%, so it's really quite wet. My advice, as last time to the newer turner, is to make sure that you give a good waxing to your bedways. I don't like to buff it off, I leave it on as I put it on, and that protects the bedways from the wet shavings, and some form of curtain, shower curtain or whatever, to hold the shavings in a small area and not go all over your tools and all over your bits and bobs on your shelves. Okay, without further ado, let's get turning this wet eucalyptus hollow form. There's an old saying in the wood turning world, you can't put wood back on a piece. Well, I'd started to true up the edge and I had it still on this camera. So it wasn't quite a still life of 10 minutes of the Robert Sorby Pro Edge, but that is basically what you were seeing. And I can't put the wood back on, so I will start again. I'm turning at around 360 RPM. I'm using the Hope Cryo 1/2 inch bowl gouge, and we'll take it from there. So if I say take two, have a little snigger. I've only been doing these videos for 10 years. I'll get the hang of it one day. Okay, let's carry on. I've got it mounted in the chuck, and I've got it in the Axminster Colossus jaws, and they are really big jaws. They will clamp down on a tenon of anything between 5.5 to 6.25 inches. So that gives me a really good hold, and they're serrated on the inside, so they really clamp down on the wood. And with wet wood you've got to keep on tightening down, because obviously you're compressing the wet fibres. Okay, so let's get shaping the outside of this hollow form. Some cracks have started to appear, as I'd expect. I'm not too worried about that, because it might even be an opportunity later on in a few months when it does dry out to use my crystal clear resin. Let's just see. So that's finished the basic shaping of the outside. Now the next stage is to hollow out and keep the walls as evenly thick as possible to aid in drying. Now I'm not going to be able to carry on with this today, so what I will do is give it a spray with the water sprayer and cover it in cling film, and that should hopefully keep it in the same condition as it is now, and we'll carry on with this tomorrow. So welcome back. This is the following day. I had this piece covered in cling film overnight after dampening it down, and it doesn't seem to have changed in its characteristics. There are a few cracks starting here which were there last night, but I don't foresee that being a problem. As long as I can hollow it out, then we should be able to fill those quite easily when it's dry. So I'm going to drill a depth hole in here. It's about 4.5 inches, which is just shy of the front of the chuck here. So I shall do that, and then we'll get hollowing. And I'm going to be using the Simon Hope hollowing rig this morning because my back's playing up a bit, and it makes for a much easier hollowing experience. So I've got the lathe running at about 450 RPM, and it's a 25mm drill bit. Hold on to the chuck to make sure that it doesn't come out of the quill, and advance slowly forward, remembering to pull out and get rid of the swarf so that it doesn't get in the way of the cutting. Now you can see here that I've got the Simon Hope Easy Arm jig set up, and I've also got the laser on because I want to make sure that I don't go too thin, and hopefully can keep the same wall thickness throughout the piece. Now as you can see here from the other camera angle, we have the laser here. Now the important thing is always to have the laser directly opposite the area that you're cutting on the cutter. Now here, as you see, I've got about 3/4 of an inch there thickness, which I'm looking for, and because I'm going down this way, then as you can see here at the entrance, there is nothing on the wood, and then as I go in, you can see this elongated mark here. Maybe you can see a little bit better from the center cam here. That mark there is elongated, and it gets smaller as the walls are thicker. So when that drops off the end, I have then achieved that distance, that thickness of wall. Okay, so you want to be cutting just on or below center with this, and I angle it at about 10 degrees. So let's get hollowing. So that's the hollowing completed now. It's around between 12 and 14 mil through the whole piece, which I'm very pleased with. And this new cutter design for the heavy duty hollower, the Simon Hope hollower, I'm really impressed with it because it's so flexible, and it's really done well to come all this way, because we're talking about 6-7 inches from the opening, and it's done a very, very good job. as has the easy arm jig. My back is perfect. Appeared here, these were here last night, but they're getting a little bit bigger. I'm not unduly worried about those, but what I'm going to do is just put some thin CA in there, dribble some thin CA in there, let that go off, and then pack it up in its shavings in a brown bag, and we'll have a look at it in the future, and then hopefully it'll turn out to be nice when I finish turning it. And here's the piece off the lathe. I'm very pleased how it's turned out. I'm liking the shape, and I think if it holds together, which I hope it will, it'll be full of really nice figure. So what I've done, I've obviously taken it off the chuck. I always mark the area, the jaw number 1, so that I can seat it back properly, and I'll just go about addressing these few cracks and then put them away, and we'll finish turning it sometime in the future. Well, thank you very much indeed for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers now.